Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. I'm Jason Up. This is the New 80s Revolution, and tonight we are going to take a look at one of the most important things that an LJN collector can have in their collection. Tonight on Wrestling with the Past, we are going to explore the brand new, hot off the presses, official, complete guide to LJN Wrestling Figures book. This was just put out by my man Brutus Valentine, and it is a must-have for every LJN wrestling figure collector out there. Guys, we're going to take a look at what this thing is all about. Why is this as thick as a Sears wish book from 1985, ladies and gentlemen? Why is this jam-packed with 277 pages? How could you possibly have 277 pages about some wrestling figures? Well, tonight, we're going to go through this. And we're going to talk about why this is an absolute must-have companion piece for anybody who grew up with the LJN wrestling figures. All that tonight on Wrestling with the Past.
Wrestling with the Past, hosted by Jason Nupp. Join Jason as he reviews classic wrestling footage from the golden era of the WWF. When our biggest childhood fear was anyone from the dreaded Heenan family capturing the precious World Wrestling Federation gold from our red and yellow savior, Hulk Hogan. There were Rowdy Pipers, Snookas who superflied, animals with green tongues, Russian Volkovs, Sheiks of Iron, a demolition that could axe and smash things to bits. It was a glorious time to be alive. It was a time to rock and wrestle. When a video coliseum fulfilled our childhood world with excitement and wonder. And now, the host of Wrestling with the Past, give it up for Mr. Jason Nupp.
Guys, tonight we take a look at this catalog-sized Wrestling Superstars, WWF LJN Wrestling Superstars, complete guide. The complete guide. Everything LJN WWF related is in this book. When I first heard that this book was coming out, I thought to myself, all right, there's been price guides before, obviously. There's even been entire magazines dedicated to the WWF Wrestling Superstars line, right? Tomarts and Lee's, all those old toy magazines would do a special issue dedicated to the LJN Wrestling Superstars. So I thought, all right, well, what could be in this book that a die-hard LJN collector, a die-hard LJN fan, a person who's been playing and collecting these figures since I was 8 years old, what else could I learn about these figures? What could fill a book that we don't already know? Well, then we started hearing what was going in this book. Then we started looking at some of the photos, some of the sneak peeks that were going in this book, and it all started to come together. It all started to make sense. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the author of this book, Brutus Valentine, reached out to me and said, I want a story of your childhood play memories. I want a story for this book. And in fact, I want you to write about Cowboy Bob Orton. Give me a story about Cowboy Bob Orton, and it's going in this book. So, of course, if you've been watching this channel, you know that Cowboy Bob Orton was a big part of my LJN Federation as a kid because he got to team up with Terry Funk. They were the Wild Desperados. They were the several-time tag team champions. And so I wrote about that history. And it's in this book. That's right, my story is in this book. And the stories of so many LJN collectors, LJN fans. We were all contacted by Brutus Valentine, and we all contributed to this gigantic 275-page manual on the greatest toy line of all time, the LJN Wrestling Superstars. Now, again, what sets this book apart, what makes this different than your Tomart's action figure guide, we go in depth in this book. We talk about prototypes. We talk about customs, ladies and gentlemen. Brutus Valentine is a big part of the Facebook community, the Facebook LJN community. He's a big part of the LJN custom community. And there is chapter dedicated to the artwork of some of the greatest LJN customizers out there. Some of the work, some of the hard work, some of the creative work of the best customizers out there is featured in this book. So we don't just look at figures that we all know and love. No, we get to see some of the best customs of Leapin' Lanny Poffo, the genius Lanny Poffo. We get to see Bad News Brown. We get to see the Conquistadors. We get to see the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. What other publication is going to highlight the work of customizers? That is in this book. This is the glossiest book I have ever seen. There's not a photo in here that you will not stare at for days because of the glossiness, because of the beautiful, beautiful print work that went into this book. This book we will stare at for years. And you know, LJN collectors know what I'm talking about. LJN collectors will look at photos of figures that they already own. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I will sit here and I will stare at the Jumpin' Jim Brunzell carded figure and loose figure as if I've never seen him before. Right? That's what's special about LJN collectors. We will stare at stuff that we already have. Now, every single figure in the line has his own page, has his own story. How can you write this? Take a look at this. How can you write this many words about S.D. Jones? Brutus Valentine can. So you know that these articles, that these pages are full of information about the figure, about the production of the figure. Maybe we'll finally find out why S.D. Jones has two figures. Well, he's got two pages. There's the S.D. Jones red shirt. Big story about S.D. Jones. Then we turn the page, we've got the S.D. Jones variant. Big story. This guy wrote two entire stories about S.D. Jones. Brutus Valentine did so much research and talked to so many people. Brutus Valentine spent so much time talking to collectors, talking to customizers, but more importantly, he talked to the people that were responsible for these figures. Brutus Valentine has inside information from former LJN employees. People who had their hands all over the LJN figures before we ever touched them. The people that are behind the LJN figures, the creation of the LJN figures, are featured in this book. We can go through this thing all day long. I strongly suggest, if you are an LJN collector, you must go out and purchase this book. And you can find this book from Brutus Valentine at LJN Wrestling Superstars book.com. www. I think that's a website. I think that's a web address. I think that's on the information superhighway. www.LJNWrestlingSuperstarsBook.com is how you order this book. This is a very, very top shelf, highly, highly detailed book. From the front cover, the back, look at this. We have a peg holder, ladies and gentlemen. There's a peg holder on the back. There's 2 styles of peg holders on the back. Brutus Valentine did not skimp out on the details. This is one of the glossiest books I have ever seen in my life. So what's inside? Let me tell you what's inside. Actually, let me read. Let me read a little bit, because take a look at the back cover. What does that look like to you? That looks like the back of an LJN card, of course. So let's see what the bio card of this book has to say. Take a fantastic journey through the history of the golden age of WWF professional wrestling as told through the eyes of the LJN Wrestling Superstars figures. Includes 89 wrestling superstar profiles with all the LJN and Grand Toys collecting images, information, and facts, as well as a golden age WWF career story and stats for each star. So you're getting a complete bio, stories and stats for every single figure that LJN put out. Not only that, you're going to get stories about the actual wrestler that the figure was molded after. Okay, so you're getting stories about the figure. You're going to learn about, hang on a second. Each series is introduced by a true collecting overview and concludes with an investigative lowdown of the history of LJN Toys and its Wrestling Superstars line at that time. Other features include, now listen to this, this is the selling point of the book. Other features include the 8-inch figures, the 16-inch figures, the bendies, the thumb wrestlers, the stretch wrestlers, the rings, the prototypes, and more. More than 1,200 high-quality images are in this book. More than 1,200 photos of the greatest toy. Well, how is that possible? There's only, 70-something figures. How do we have 1,200 photos? Well, because inside this book are photos of prototypes, are photos of custom figures, are photos of non-figure related LJN Wrestling Superstars toys. And that, right now, in this early stage of me reading this, is my favorite section. All of the non-figure related toys. It's basically a checklist of stuff that I don't have yet that I could add to my collection. It's all in here in full color glossy photos. The most detailed and accurate checklist. The what and why of variants and LJN card history. LJN Wrestling Superstars have some of the deepest variants of any figure line. Greg Valentine with blonde hair. Greg Valentine with slightly less blonde hair. Greg Valentine with sandy blonde hair. It's all in here. If you are a true collector and you want all 37 Greg Valentine figures, this book is going to tell you what to look out for. As well as new, never-known information about the entire history of LJN and Grand Toys Wrestling Superstars. That's right. I have gone through this. There is information in this book that I never knew. And I have been collecting and been in love with this toy line since I was 8 years old. And there's information in this book that I did not know. Why? Because there's stories from the original production team of the LJN line. Where are you going to get that information? It's all right here, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look. What we have in this book. What we have. I'm going to go through the chapters for you. Of course, we have a prelude. Of course, we talk about the early years of the WWF. We basically talk about, Brutus Valentine talks about how the WWF started attacking the started getting national exposure. Okay, and with national exposure came the talk of toys. So it begins in the beginning. It begins in 1984 when Vince McMahon took over the WWF from his father and started making this thing more tailored towards kids, towards us. And what can you produce that's more tailored to kids than action figures? So it begins here. How did the LJN figures get started? It's in this book. How did the deal get brokered? It's in this book. Who's responsible? Who's responsible for going to toy companies and shopping around the product? It's in here. You'll be surprised to find out who. You'll be surprised to find out who is the godmother of the LJN figure line. We get into chapter 1, of course. Series 1 is chapter 1. So let's go. All the figure lines, Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, Series 4, Series 5, Series 6 are all have their very own chapter dedicated to them in this book. And we're not, guys, this is a 275 page book. You're getting, let's see. Series 1 is from page 14 to page 38. Okay? So you're getting 24 pages just on Series 1 alone. Stories, details, production secrets, facts that we never knew are in here. We talk about the Lost series. The Lost series. What's the Lost series? Well, the Lost series is the series that was supposed to happen. The series that never was. We're talking about Demolition Smash. We're talking about the Barbarian, the Bushwhackers, Bad News Brown, Brother Love. Are those prototypes in here? No, but some of the greatest customs I've ever seen are in here representing the figures that should have been. The tag teams are featured, ladies and gentlemen. The LJN 16-inch figures are featured. The bendies, the stretch wrestlers, the merchandise. The non-figure related merchandise, what a special page that is, because it gives us the opportunity to go back and go, oh yeah, I'm not a true LJN collector if I don't have the, let's see what I need to collect. What is this book making me do? This book is making me go back and get, let's see, the Hulk Hogan vitamins. This book is making me get. The very elusive WrestleMania championship belt that I do not have. The Hulkamania workout set that's out. Take a look, guys. This is the only sneak peek you're going to get. You want to see this? You got to buy the book. Take a look. This is the non-figure related merchandise section. All of the hodgepodge of the LJN line, including those almost impossible to find erasers from Winston Toys, are here. The notebooks, look at that. I have those. I have those notebooks. The wrestling albums. Page after page of non-figure related merchandise is all in this book. Again, guys, I cannot express how important this book is to an LJN collector. Every single figure has a story dedicated to the figure by one of us, a collector, me included. We all wrote stories. We all talked about our childhoods, and they're all featured in this book. Photos of kids, collectors, displaying their LJN figures from 30 plus years ago. Those photos are in this book. You want to see? You want to see what kids looked like back in the day? Where is it? Come on. Yeah, look at this. Photos of kids playing with their LJN figures are in this book. Again, guys, I am so proud to have this in my collection, and I have a very special person to thank. I just don't know if they want to be called out. I don't know if they want to be called out on the tube, Upstate Johnny. But this book was sent to me by a very special person, a very special friend of this channel, who might be called Upstate Johnny. I'm not sure. But whoever he is, I want to send a very special thank you, because this book is now mine, and this book will sit proudly, and I will spend so much time looking at this book. And you know what this has done? This book has reignited my passion. Not that the passion for LJNs ever went away, but this book has reignited my love for these figures. Guys, go check it out. www.LJNWrestlingSuperstarsBook.com. Go get your copy today. It is a must-have for fans of this toy line. Until next time, bring home all the action, and we will see you all later. Good night now.